Welcome back to another episode of It's Bailey. Today we're talking about how to lose weight the right way. Let's give a little round of applause for my background. Every time I record, it is a little bit better and I'm so proud of myself. You may be thinking, why should I listen to you? Such a good question. So many people online talk about fat loss. And of course, obviously I'm biased. I think my approach is one of the best approaches. I am a women's personal trainer, nutrition coach, and hormone coach. I have helped hundreds of clients lose weight healthily if that is they have PCOS, insulin resistance, or they're just like an average Joe without any health issues trying to lose weight. So passionate about losing weight the right way, because if you don't, what will happen is you will gain all the weight back and then some. So all the efforts you put in towards losing weight for how many months or years will literally be for nothing, because you'll gain all the way back, if not more. Or on the flip side, if you lost it in a super unsustainable way, you will have to maintain those unsustainable habits in order to keep the weight off, which could equal disordered eating, having super low energy, losing your period, and various other symptoms where you're gonna feel like crap. I've worked with women wanting to lose 5 pounds and women who have wanted to lose over 40 pounds and who have succeeded in doing so in 6 months. So let's get into it. Number one of losing weight the right way, I want you to ask yourself this question: is it healthy for me to lose weight? Or do I just want to do that because literally every celebrity and person online is on Ozempic and is super, super unattainable skinny? Is it genuinely healthy for your body, your mental health, your hormones, every aspect of your health to lose weight? Or is it just for aesthetics? It is not wrong to want to look better. I'm gonna say it like it's not wrong to want to feel better and look better. And that's an okay reason to want to lose weight, as long as it's also healthy for you to lose weight. If you are at a healthy body weight, then there simply is no reason for you to lose weight, and kindly just close out of this video. Number two is setting a realistic timeline. You know how many times I see people's videos online of how to lose 20 pounds in 2 months, or I lost 50 pounds in 3 months. That is super unattainable. What is attainable and healthy fat loss? It ranges anywhere from 1/4 pound on the low end. Now, technically 2 pounds on the high end, but I usually say 1 pound on a high end if you really want it to be sustainable. So 1/4 pound to 1 pound a week. So if you're wanting to lose 10 pounds, 1 pound a week, that would take you 10 weeks and like 2 to 3 months. Or if you're wanting to lose 50 pounds, doing 1/2 pound a week, that would take you 100 weeks, which is like almost 2 years if the math in my head is correct, which it very much may not be. A lot of times we get kind of frustrated with these realistic timeframes because we want to feel better fast. We want to look better fast. And I totally get that, but I really want you to knock it inside of your skull. Although rapid fat loss can happen, could someone lose 10 pounds in a month? Absolutely. Most likely, if not 10 out of 10 times, they're going to gain weight back down the line. If not more, it's not going to be sustainable. The time is going to pass. So if your fat loss goals are going to take you 6 months, a year, 2 years, that time is going to pass anyways. Wouldn't you be so glad that you did things the right way? And 6 months, a year, 2 years from now, you look back, you feel so great in your body. You're able to maintain the fat loss without having to not eat your favorite foods and live a super crappy lifestyle. You're able to live a really great lifestyle and be able to keep that weight off and be like, wow, I'm so glad that I did things the right way. So I want you right now to think about the amount of weight you want to lose. Let's say we're gonna use 10 pounds as an example. And then I want you to think, realistically, how many pounds am I wanting to lose a week? Which we'll get into of what that would look like in a caloric deficit. But let's say you're doing 1/2 pound a week. Therefore, it would take you 20 weeks if you're wanting to lose 10 pounds with 1/2 pound of fat loss every single week. Now, obviously, none of this is an exact science. Things typically don't always go our way, but it's a good ballpark to go off of. Now, number 3 is going to be how you're going to track progress. And let me tell you, tracking the number on the scale is the worst way to track progress. If you are a woman with a menstrual cycle, the number on the scale is going to fluctuate throughout the 4 phases of your cycle. If you train in the gym and you weight lift, muscle is heavy, you're going to gain weight according to the scale. If you gain muscle, we want muscle. Muscle burns fat. Muscle increases our metabolism. Muscle balances our blood sugar. Or if one day you indulge in some saltier food, the number on the scale will go up, but you didn't actually gain weight. So the number on the scale is truly the worst way to track progress. It's just one little number. It's one way to track things. We're gonna put that at the bottom of the list of what you're going to track. Now, the best way to track progress is just by how you feel. Number one, your mental health, your mood, your energy, as well as your overall health. So things like your heart rate, your blood pressure, your blood sugar, how you're sleeping, all of those things are gonna be number one. And especially if you're a woman, having a normal, healthy, regular cycle that comes every 28 days-ish and is pretty symptom and pain-free. Those things are way more important than measurements and the number on the scale. Next is going to be tracking progress photos. Now, I recommend people take progress photos at most once a week. There's really no need to take them more than like every other week or every 3 weeks or even once a month, because does your body change that much in a week or even every other week? No. But the most important thing when it comes to taking progress photos is making sure you're wearing the same outfit, the same angle. So your phone is set at the same angle, the same lighting. And if you are taking the photos on an empty stomach in the morning, taking all your photos on an empty stomach in the morning. Where people will go wrong and where people fake before and after photos for selling their various, fat loss products is if you were to take a photo with super, and you can't see what I'm wearing, but super high waist. Actually, I will stand up and I will show you. One moment. Okay, hopefully I'm in frame. I wanna make sure. Head is gonna be out of frame for a second, but hopefully you can still hear me well. So if you're gonna take photos one day in super high-waisted pants, and then the next day you take photos with your pants down here, your body is going to look drastically different. So make sure you always take photos either down here or up here. I recommend if you're wanting to lose belly fat that you do take your photos quite low so you can see your belly fat. So when taking progress photos, making sure to take photos of the front of you, side of you, back of you, keeping things very uniform. So then tracking biometrics, AKA the numbers, the two more important things to track above the number on the scale is measurements and body fat percentage. When taking measurements, obviously getting a measuring tape, I recommend measuring anywhere on your body that you want to see a significant change. For most people, it could be like your arms, your chest, your stomach, your hips, your glutes, your thighs. And the most important thing, measurements, there is so much room for error, taking 3 measurements and then taking the average. Another super important thing for measurements is that we're always taking it in the same spot every single time. So trying to find either if that's like a freckle, a landmark, maybe it's like the widest point you measure with your hands. We want to make sure we're always getting the same spot. For your abdomen, the easiest thing to do is either take measurements at the smallest part of your waist, right under your last rib, or over the widest part of your waist, which is typically where your belly button is, using your belly button as a landmark. When I have clients take their measurements and their measurements change by like 5 inches in 2 weeks, I know that they measured things wrong because there is no way their body is changing that much in the span of 2 weeks. So always do 3 measurements, take the average, and find some kind of landmark where you're like, ooh, this is where I always measure. As far as body fat percentage, now those fancy expensive scales that track body fat percentage, are those 100% accurate? No, but they are better than nothing. Most people can't afford the really expensive gear that it takes to track body fat percentage or calipers, for example. I went to school for kinesiology. I was literally trained in using like skin calipers to track the fat on your body. Most people are not trained in that. So although you could buy one, figuring out how to use it and do it could maybe be trickier for you to do that. And it might just be easier for you to step on a scale that tracks body fat percentage. Just knowing, again, it's not an exact science, doing it 3 times and taking an average. And then lastly, it's going to be tracking the number on the scale. There is no need to weigh yourself, again, at the most once a week, but typically like every other week is better. Your body's not going to make that much of a difference in 1 to 2 weeks. So next, moving on to track your calories or not to track your calories. It is such a personal preference. I will say tracking is only toxic if your mindset around it is toxic. Now, I understand if you have a past of disordered eating, that used to be me too. It might really trigger you to track your calories. If you know, it will send you into an obsession spiral. If you overeat on your calories one day, it's gonna make you feel really bad about yourself or start you in like this binge cycle. Please do not track. You can lose weight without tracking. For those of you who are wanting to track, I really want you to view tracking as a positive tool to make sure you're getting in enough food. So enough calories, enough protein, fat, fiber, carbs, instead of this really restrictive tool. It's just another way to track data. Now, if you are tracking your food, you can use apps like MyFitnessPal, which is a free app on your phone that you can download. So when tracking our calories, the first thing we're gonna wanna do is to calculate our TDEE, or total daily energy expenditure. This is adding up our BMR, so our basal metabolic rate. This is how many calories our body burns if we were just to lay and literally exist. Plus, it adds on your activity that you have between just like your natural activity of working, living your life, plus working out. I'll put the website I recommend for tracking your TDEE. And if you want to take it a step further and make sure it's the most accurate, I would check it with 2 different websites and take the average. So this is going to be our maintenance calories. So let's say, hypothetically, your TDEE is 2,300 calories. That's my TDEE. So if I wanted to lose 1 pound a week, I would have to subtract off 3,500 calories in a week or 500 calories a day. So I would take 2,300 minus 500, which doing the math, that's 1,800 calories a day to lose a pound a week. Now, if you're used to eating 2,300 calories, that is quite a jump. So what I'd actually recommend is that you slowly work your way to that amount versus going just from 2,300 calories to 1,800 calories. You're honestly probably setting yourself up to not follow that, to overeat, and then you won't end up losing weight. Instead, what I would do is I'd go from 2,300 calories to 22 to 21 to 2,000, 1,900 until I'd hit 1,800. Just knowing myself, I would know it's probably better for me to focus on a half a pound of fat loss a week. So that would be 250 calories a day. I'd subtract from my TDEE. Then in my example, I'd be eating 2,050 calories a day, which is a lot more realistic for me. It will be a lot more of a sustainable fat loss journey. So when tracking your food, or maybe you're not tracking, you're going more of an intuitive route, the 3 most important things to focus on is protein, fiber, and eating high volume foods. These 3 things will make sure that you stay full and satiated. Now, you don't want to neglect eating healthy fats and carbs. You absolutely still need those. If you're wanting to feel more full and comfortable and satiated, those 3 things are going to be your best friends. So getting in around like minimum 30 grams of protein per meal, 25 grams of fiber a day, and like I said, a high volume food. So for example, potatoes is a high volume food. Unlike what people say, it is not a food that is going to make you fat. What would make you fat is dousing it in oil and over consuming it and not balancing it out with like a protein or a veggie and adding in more fiber. But you can eat a lot of potatoes for a little calorie amount, and that is going to fill up your stomach more. It's going to keep you more full, more satiated. So that would be an example of a high volume food. Versus a low volume food would be something like butter. I'm not trying to demonize butter. I love grass-fed butter, but a little bit of butter is going to have a high amount of calorie amount and is going to barely fill up your stomach. So if you're not tracking and you're not following a deficit, what do? To keep things super simple, I always tell my clients to eat until they're 70 to 80% full. So if this is your stomach, you're going to be eating, instead of 100% fullness, 70% fullness. You're still going to feel pretty full and pretty satiated. You're just not eating to the normal 100% capacity that you would. And you really need to listen to your hunger and fullness cues in order to do this, which is great because it's making you more in tune with your body. This way, if you're eating until you're 70 to 80% full, you're really putting yourself in a natural deficit. Another way of looking at this too is just taking slightly smaller portions than you usually would. So if you usually take like this amount of rice, obviously I'm just holding it in my hands. If you usually take like this amount of rice at dinner, taking slightly less rice, you can still have the rice, just having slightly less, slightly cutting your portions down, eating not at 100% capacity. So naturally you are going to feel a little bit hungry when you are in a deficit. You're eating less calories than you're used to. That is very normal and it will get better with time. And I actually know I am in a deficit if I am feeling a little bit hungry. Now, this isn't in a toxic way of feeling super hungry and starving all the time. I know that may seem a little triggering for some people, but it makes sense. If you're eating less, you're gonna feel a little bit hungrier, and it will get better with time. And as your stomach shrinks and your body's metabolism, BMR, etc., adjusts to the less amount of food that you're eating. Obviously, you don't want to get super hangry and ravenous, because that is when you go for convenience foods or you end up overeating. If I find myself in a state where, like last night, I was really, really hungry before dinner, I had an apple, I had a string cheese, I was still pretty hungry, and then I made dinner. I didn't wait until I was super ravenously hungry, where then I overate on Doritos or took giant portions at dinner. I had an apple, I had a string cheese, I was still pretty hungry, then I had my dinner. I didn't let myself get to that like ravenous state. You should not let yourself get to a crazy hunger state, but a little bit of hunger is normal. Movement for fat loss, I keep super simple. Increase my walking, and I focus on strength training because, again, it helps you burn fat, it increases your metabolism, it balances your blood sugar, which helps keeps cravings at bay. I recommend setting either a step or a mileage goal. So setting a step goal, if I want to walk, the beloved 10K steps a day, or for me, I like setting a mileage goal for the week. So currently I'm in a fat loss phase. My mileage goal is 14 miles a week, or around 2 miles a day on top of my normal movement. Now, I will always strive to do this outside if it is nice outside, or I will use my walking pad while I work. This step goal and mileage goal should be challenging. It should be more than you're used to. That is how you're going to burn more calories than you're used to help you aid in fat loss. And then for weightlifting, it's really going to be whatever you can be consistent to. If you are a newbie, maybe that's 2 to 3 days a week. If you're someone who's been lifting for years, maybe that is more 4 to 5 days a week. For someone who doesn't like to plan your workouts, you don't really know what to do in the gym, or you just don't really want to think about it, that is where the Strong and Sexy Sisterhood would be a great option for you. This is my 6-month-long coaching program where I will be with you every single step of the way on your fat loss journey. I'll be giving you custom nutrition goals. I'll help you with your tracking or intuitive eating. And I will send new workouts every single month to your phone that will tell you exactly what to do in the gym if you're either a beginner or you've been working out for years. More info and the link to join will be put in the show notes. Number 6 is reverse dieting and hormone testing. How do you know if you need to do either of those things? A lot of my clients have to do reverse diets, and it's something that's definitely not talked about a lot. I for sure will make another video about this. But essentially, if you've been in a dieting phase forever, or knowingly or unknowingly under eating for a long amount of time, you may need to go in a reverse diet. And that is where you're slowly increasing your calories back to your maintenance calories. So let's say your maintenance calories, like me, is 2,300 calories, but for whatever reason, I've been eating 1,600 calories the last year. The only way I'd be able to go into a deficit, like I'd have to be eating 1,500, 1,400, 1,200. That would be an eating disorder. That would be as much food as a toddler eats. That would not be sustainable fat loss. I would be miserable, starving. I would lose my period. It'd be so bad for my health. The only option would be a reverse diet. So many of my clients actually lose weight while they're in a reverse diet. But if you're someone who identifies with that, you've been dieting or in a super low deficit for a long amount of time and you're not losing weight or it's not sustainable, please do a reverse diet. I will make another video about this, so hit subscribe and follow. Or maybe you don't need to do a reverse diet, but fat loss has felt super hard for you despite you being super consistent and doing everything right. You've been on your A game with nutrition. You've been in the gym, crushing your workouts. You have your lifestyle habits in check for fat loss, but the fat loss isn't happening. I would highly recommend doing functional hormone testing. I offer this in all of my offers between one-on-one coaching, Strong and Sexy Sisterhood, and the Instinct Sisterhood. When we do functional hormone testing, if this is either a saliva test or a Dutch test, we can see what is going on hormonally that's making it hard for you to lose weight. It could be estrogen dominance, could be low testosterone, could be high testosterone. We don't really know until we take those samples and we see what's going on. In my business, I actually partner with a medical lab and a functional doctor that allows me to do this for my clients. And it's one of the things that really gives me an edge in order to help my clients. Is why my clients see such great results. I just had a client who went through my program. She lost over 30 pounds in less than 6 months. She has PCOS in the past. Fat loss was super hard for her. It's because we did functional hormone testing. And of course, because she worked with me, that we were able to see this is why you're not losing weight. And this is exactly what you need to do in order to fix it. So she could lose over 30 pounds. So when fat loss seems hard and you've been real with yourself, like you know you haven't been lazy, you know you've been on your A game with nutrition, With your workouts, that is where you may need to look at a reverse diet or functional hormone testing. So many more things I could probably say about losing body fat or losing weight in a healthy way, but we're gonna keep it at this today. To summarize, number one, is it actually healthy for you to lose weight? Number two, setting a realistic timeline, losing like 1/4 of a pound to a pound a week. Number three, looking at the way you're tracking your progress. Tracking the number on the scale should be your least priority. How you feel, how your body is functioning, your period, your hormones is top priority. Number four is debating if you want to track and go in a deficit, calculating your TDEE, subtracting off like 1/2 pound or a pound a week, or intuitive eating until you're like 70 to 80% fullness, really looking at your portions, eating slightly smaller portions. Number five is simply increasing the amount that you're walking a day and staying consistent to strength training every single week. Number six, finally, is debating if you need to go into either a reverse diet or get done functional hormone testing with your girl. If you're wanting my help directly in losing weight and balancing your hormones, all my offers and programs will be in the show notes. Thank you for tuning in to It's Bailey, and I'll talk to you guys next Monday at 7 a.m.